Hello. It's been some months, I think 2, maybe 3. Had to take some time off because there just wasn't very much to talk about. And then out of nowhere, I'm at the dentist and all this Trev Alberts stuff happens. I've got the notes from the presser pulled up today. I've got the chat pulled up so I can see what you guys have to say. Before I get started, I want to make sure my audio is all good. It looks good to me. Okay. So I know there are going to be a lot of comments about Trev, right? And there are going to be a lot of people saying, what are your thoughts? And you think he's a snake, and everyone wants to jump on the negativity train. I know that to be true because I get DMs still today. I got an email today about my thoughts on Trev. I already gave a video with my thoughts on Trev, and I try to find the silver lining. I try to be positive. I try to twist every narrative so that it doesn't have to be some negative spiral that we all get frustrated by and that we all rant about for weeks or months at a time, right? Although I know it is fun to rant and complain, and I know that a lot of people come to my channel to listen to me rant and complain because I get real excited, but it's not what I'm here to do today. I want to start with my final thoughts on the Trev thing. I don't think that he was maliciously trying to ruin Nebraska. I don't think that he was trying to snakishly leave, or that he didn't think that the right leadership was in place for him to succeed, or that Nebraska wasn't his end-all be-all because it wasn't a good enough or big enough program. I think Trev is the type of guy who wants to climb the ladder. He wants a job that's bigger than what Nebraska or any school can offer as an AD, right? He wants to be a commissioner. He wants to have some crazy title and be an authority figure over maybe the entire sport. So I think he was limited in his role at Nebraska, not because it was Nebraska, but because he's ready to move on to something bigger than AD. So he can move to Texas A&M, where he can add SEC AD to his resume. And I'm sure in 3 years, he'll be gone from there and on to something else in a bigger role. So I don't really harbor any sadness or negativity about this whole situation. It just kind of is what it is. Matt Rhule did his press conference today, and in my video where I broke down all of my thoughts about why I thought Matt Rhule had a huge opportunity to succeed despite Trev leaving and despite there not being a president in Nebraska, my overall thought was that he has a chance to go in and become a leader and to set the foundation for leadership at Nebraska in a way that obviously the administration of the past hasn't been able to do. The people who've been in charge have either failed at their jobs, they haven't set the standard the right way, and Nebraska's just kind of been sloppy on that front. When Matt Rhule talked today, he came out and he addressed this situation. He came out and he made sure that Nebraska fans knew, because Matt Rhule's in touch. He's like us. He's on Twitter. He's on YouTube. He sees everything that's being said. He's got his finger on the pulse, right? So he knows what's happening. And he wanted to make sure that Nebraska fans knew he's all the way in. He talked about his roots. He talked about his wife starting a business here, his son coming to school here. He talked about how Nebraska has all of the resources he needs. They have all the money in the world. They have committed fully to making sure that the program is great. And he talked about how the spring sports are now uplifting the football program, because when he goes out and recruits, he's able to talk about the current sports that are still in action, not the sports that would have fallen off and missed basketball season, or not been good not basketball season, missed March Madness season during basketball season, or baseball failing or wrestling failing. Every sport at Nebraska is trending up, and everybody's being talked about, which is obviously helping the football program, and it's just uplifting the entire state. So Matt Rhule talked about that a lot, and I thought that was admirable, because everything that I thought he was, which is a leader who's going to be able to come to Nebraska and establish himself as a face, seems to be true. So it's exciting. I wanted to pull up some notes from the presser to start off today. Let me get to them. So he talked about how the way you win in college athletics is to invest, and he broke down that Nebraska has such a commitment financially. It goes beyond just obviously the fan support. It goes to the businesses in Nebraska and people willing to contribute to NIL and building these foundations and these pillars that help you to be able to put money into these programs, because the way you win in 2024 is to invest in them. So that was a great point. And Nebraska is one of these, 20 schools, 15 schools who is investing heavily. And it's not just in football, it's in every sport. They're making sure they've got the best coaches across the board. And obviously now they're doing what they have to do NIL wise. He talked about how Trev Alberts was talking about revenue sharing before he left, and the importance of getting ahead of revenue sharing before we get to that point. I don't know where that's going. That's above my pay grade, but I do know that that is in the future. There are athletes who are being paid now, but who are going to be expected to be paid more. And the sport is changing into more of a professional landscape, right? And so Nebraska being aware, and although you're a school in the dead center of America where typically all of the progressive ideas come from the coast, and then they move in. And by the time you get to the middle, you're a little bit late to the party. I think Nebraska is now doing the opposite. Nebraska's at the forefront. Nebraska's thinking forward, and they're doing what it takes to make sure that they're on the inside, not on the outside looking in, right? They're not the one who's going to fall behind, which I think in the past you can say they were the team who fell behind. They were the program who thought in more of an old way, and they weren't forward thinking enough. But I don't know. Matt Rhule, young guy. He's not even 50 yet, I don't think. He's got his head in the right place, I think is the best way to say it. He said that he was all in. He said that Trev called him when he was with his son and that he was surprised that Trev left, but that Trev had had conversations before. And I think that really calmed me down too. Not calm me down. That's the wrong word because I was never too excited. I think the right way to say it is Trev was already thinking about leaving. Trev had already talked to people at Nebraska and said there are other opportunities that I have. So although I'm sure it caught a lot of people off guard, it was in the cards. It was a plan that he wanted to make a move for his future, and that it probably wasn't about Nebraska. It was about something bigger for himself. So I think that's a big reason that people got excited about Matt Rhule and were like, oh, well, could he leave or whatever they were saying? How long's his contract? And Matt shut that down and said, I'm not here to bounce out. I'm here to build something and be here for the long run. So there was a lot of positive that I took away from Matt's 12-minute intro, and I hope you did too, and I'm sure you guys watched that, the presser. He talked about football a little bit. It's obviously so early to talk about football. He talked about Grant Bricks adding weight. He talked about how there's a couple guys, the running back specifically, who won't be practicing in spring ball, I don't think. And then he talked about how, I'm blanking on names now. I think he talked about Tommy Hill. He talked about Bryce Benhart making a jump. Anyway, he talked about some guys who were being leaders. So he talked about Dylan Raiola, who shows up before morning workouts. He gets there early. So there were a lot of good takeaways. Todd, thank you for becoming a member. Matthew says Trev wanted the stadium locked in before revenue sharing came in and drastically changed budgets. Yeah, Trev was thinking ahead, and I think that was kind of the point that Rhule is trying to make. Trev set the foundation, and he laid out a plan for the next athletic director to come in and be able to pick up where he left off. So I think it was really positive. And yeah, there's not much to complain about. Kurt thinks he left because of the lawsuit. I don't know. I don't think that's true. I don't think that Trev had ill intent, and I don't think Trev felt like he was going to be jammed up if he stayed at Nebraska. So I think it was just a sign that he wanted to do more with his life and be in a different position. All good. He did make a comment today. I'll share my screen now. He said, you can expect, this is at the Texas A&M introductory press conference. He said, you can expect transparency from me. I say this all the time. There will never be any secrets. Says the Texas A&M athletic department will have full transparency. I saw a lot of people say, oh, he says that, but at Nebraska, it wasn't like that. That's not entirely true. He was pretty straightforward at Nebraska. He was transparent, and we knew what was going on. He was really straightforward, actually, because he spoke so much on different shows. He was the face of the athletic department in a way that Bill Moose never was, right? So I think that he is transparent, but he wasn't as transparent in the way he left, because I'm sure the reality is he's not going to say, well, I'm job climbing right now and Texas A&M's just next on the rung. They're gone too. Give it 3 years and Texas A&M will be out because I got to move on to the next one. So I'm sure that he's honest and genuine in that regard. But there were some other things that rubbed people the wrong way. Like the other day when he said, bring the bus down, Will. And people were like, this is BS. Why is he coming back for Will Compton? And then Will Compton obviously responded and said, I'll come if you give me the Nebraska treatment. And from Will Compton's perspective, why wouldn't he go interview Trev? Will's a national show. He's not a Nebraska show. He wants to be able to get access to all these big programs and obviously get the views, make the money. So respect to Will for chasing the bag and getting what he can. And on top of that, as a Nebraska fan and former player, he can actually talk to Trev, and he can say, hey, Trev, what the hell was that? Give me something. And maybe if he has Trev on his show, Trev will expand on it. I'm sure it'll be all political and it'll be all tight, and he'll just say what needs to be said and not the extras that we want to hear about. But, regardless, respect Will for saying what he wants to say, even though Nebraska fans are pissed off and just frustrated over the whole situation. And then you've got the comment he said about this will be fun because Nebraska and Texas A&M are going to play each other in the tournament. What are the odds of that? I had a little graphic pulled up. Here it is. That's the tournament graphic. Nebraska hasn't been to the tournament in I don't know how many years. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I follow college basketball a little bit. Like, I'll watch because I bet on games all throughout December, January, because there's nothing to bet on after college football ends. I mean, you have the NFL, but it starts to get pretty scarce with games since you're in the playoffs and the regular season kind of winds down. So I bet on college basketball. So every year I pay attention. I don't know the players' names. I don't know the guys' positions, but, I'll pay attention a little bit. For the first time ever, I started to watch college basketball this year. And it started because last year Tominaga was on fire, and then he said he was coming back. So I thought, I'm going to give Nebraska basketball a chance. I've never been into basketball, like into it. I've never wanted to watch a full game start to end. But as a Nebraska fan, what if they can get hot? What if they can make a move? So fast forward from the end of last year when Tominaga said he was going to come back. You get to September of this season, story time. I was at the Michigan game. It was Barry's on a Saturday night. Kenny Bell was there. Samari Toure was there. I said what's up to him. There were a bunch of people there. And then I had some Corn Craze subscribers there, and they pulled me into a picture with a guy. I didn't know who the guy was. It ended up being CJ Wilshire. And we all took a picture together. And then I started talking to CJ, and he told me he was a basketball player. And I told him that I didn't really pay attention to Nebraska basketball and that I wish I had a reason to. And I wasn't trying to be disrespectful or rude. I was just saying, I've just never paid attention to it, because the other guy who was in the picture with us was telling him that I do Nebraska content. And I said, I don't make videos talking about Nebraska basketball because, number one, I don't care about basketball. But number two, I haven't wanted to cover a losing team after I cover a losing team all football season, Anyway, CJ told me this year was going to be different. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but he told me like 4 or 5 different reasons why he thought that this team was going to be special. And he talked about certain guys coming back, and it was more than Tominaga, and it was about the culture of this team and the coaching staff. And he said, just watch, just give Nebraska basketball a chance. I promise you, we won't let you down, I was like, okay, I'm going to watch Nebraska basketball. So I got all amped up. I'm like, all right, let's see what they can do. And then I started watching basketball this year. And I remember the first game I watched was against Oregon State. They won that game. The second game I watched was against Kansas State, or maybe it was Creighton. It was Creighton or Kansas State, one of the two. Anyway, it was exciting to watch the games. And now I've been watching. I don't want to say I watch every game because I don't watch every game. I might watch 1 in every 3. And I've watched probably the last 4. So I'm in tune. I don't know all the guys' positions, but I know all the starters now. And I'm excited to bet on them during March Madness. I was really frustrated at the way the Illinois game ended. I think a lot of us thought that there were some fouls that weren't given when they should have been. And I think that Nebraska kind of got jammed. But they also just failed to meet the standard. They were up 15 with 8 minutes left, and they just kind of crumbled under pressure. All they had to do was make their shots, and they couldn't hit one. It was disgusting. But to be fair, Terrence Shannon got super hot, and that guy's a freak basketball player. I think Illinois is like a 3 seed now. I'm going to be betting on them too during the tournament. But anyway, that's why we're gathered here today, because I want to fill out my bracket, and I want to share with you guys what I think is going to happen. Last year, we did a March Madness bracket for Corn Craze, which we're going to do another one this year again. You just go to the description box below, click that link, you can enter. I'm going to give away merch to the winner. Last year, there were 200 entrants. I ended up winning last year. But this year, I'm not going to win, because if I won last year, there's no way I'm winning again. So you got a good chance to beat me this year. Mr. ZZY, whatever. I think this is Jim. He said, Big Red is twice lucky. We have Matt Rhule and Corn Craze. Thank you for the $7.11 super chat, Jim. I appreciate you. Someone called me the other day, and they're like, imagine if Nebraska lost you in the way they lost Trev Alberts. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, imagine if one day you just swapped all your branding on your channel to USC. You just swapped it all, and then you just started making videos about USC football, and you never addressed it. Like, the comments all said, what the hell are you doing? Talk about Nebraska, but you just ignored it and never said anything. They're like, that's what it felt like to lose Trev Alberts. I was like, wow, that's a pretty funny comparison. Corn Craze isn't as important as a guy like Trev Alberts. But I will tell you, Corn Craze is important during football season when we got the live streams going and we're frustrated. That's when Corn Craze matters, when I've got to be the people's therapist. Ardwin says, the fact that Nebraska plays Texas A&M and not just men's, but women's as well, absolutely fills me with joy. Me too, Ardwin. I was really excited to see that. It gives us 2 chances to beat them. And, you just want to see the dirt get rubbed into his eyes a little bit, Again, I don't have any ill will or any negativity towards Trev Alberts. I don't care. But to watch his team lose to Nebraska not once but twice would feel so damn good. Noah, thank you for the $10 super chat. Thank you for being a member. Trev leaving is solely on the Board of Regents. It's ridiculous they can't find a new president or chancellor in 8 months. I respect Trev for not airing dirty laundry. The tourney pairing is sus. The tourney pairing 100% is sus. Again, thank you for the super chat, Noah. I don't truly believe that he left because of leadership. I think he left because he's trying to get a bigger job and he's got to build up his resume. So I understand it from that perspective. If it was, like you said, because they didn't go out and get a president and he didn't have enough leadership to help him, then that'd be frustrating. But the reality is I think he was gone either way. President or not, I think he would have been gone. I do want Trev to air out the dirty laundry, though. I think it's going to take, if there is actually an issue, like in the upper management echelon, then someone needs to come forward and say something to really rile people up, and that'll force change. Because if you don't force change, typically no one makes one, right? It just kind of lingers around and people accept what it is. The last thing you said was the tourney pairing is sus. You know, the tourney pairing isn't sus. The tourney pairing is meant for drama. It's made for TV, and they were so smart to go after it. I love the tourney pairing. I think Nebraska's a 1-point favorite against Texas A&M right now. Looks like that line's going to shift to money line or maybe even Texas A&M as the favorite. But I think it said Texas A&M gives up, what was it? They're bottom at 15 in most 3-point shots allowed. And Nebraska's like in the top 25 for 3-pointers. So good matchup from that standpoint. But Texas A&M's really good at offensive rebounds, I think it said. Anyway, I haven't looked too much at it, but yeah, it's going to be a really good game. It's basically a pick 'em. It's a toss-up. Kurt says, Connor, who's your pick for the AD job? Kurt, I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't looked. I haven't thought about it. They talked about like a Baylor AD or an Iowa State AD. They talked about some different guys who Rhule might have connections to or who might have interest in the Nebraska job. Everyone obviously likes to talk about John Cook. They like to talk about internal people who you can promote from within. But I'm sure they'll go outside, get another AD who's proven. I don't know. You know, I'm a Nebraska football fan. And I know that it's important to have an AD. But I don't know how much the AD matters when Nebraska's going to go out and get a guy for $2 million who's already got a proven reputation and likely going to come in and make an impact right away. He just has to pick up where Trev Alberts left off. And Nebraska's on the right track because they have all these really good coaches who, I mean, none of them are getting fired anytime soon, right? Hoiberg proved himself recently. Rhule's in here for at least 4 or 5 more years. Cook, whoever the baseball coach is, I don't know much about baseball. I think wrestling's doing good. So it's not like he has to make any tough decisions right now. Whatever AD comes in just has to kind of fulfill the promise that we're going to get the stadium upgrades, that they're going to go and raise the money they need to, that they're going to keep evolving with the ever-changing landscape of college football. And anybody who they pay $2 million a year who has that resume is going to do just fine, I'm sure. So I don't think too much into it. Matthew says, how's the weather in LA? Did you survive all the rain and wind? Is it nice out now? You know, it's 72 degrees today. It was rainy a bit. I went to Florida for like a 3-week trip with my dad. I went on a fishing trip about a month ago, I guess. And before that, I traveled a bit. So I haven't been here too much. I've been here. I split about half my time in LA and half my time traveling. When I went to Florida, it was all good weather. I don't think it rained once. I had food poisoning one day, though. But the positive was I went to Lake Okeechobee, which is like the best bass fishing lake in the country. We went for 4 days. We went with a professional, like he's a former professional who's won a ton of tournaments. We were on the lake from 7 a.m. until 3 p.m. every single day. I caught a 6-pound bass, pretty good catch. I had 7 in one day. That was pretty solid. And then every night for dinner, we'd go to Palm Beach or we go wherever, to different steakhouses. So it was a pretty good trip. And I went to Miami, saw my friend Dylan, went and hit some of the nice restaurants there. And then I went to Orlando after that. That's where I got food poisoning. I was on a work trip. Food poisoning was terrible. I was all dehydrated. And I came home, reset, got back to work. You know, I've been working. I got like 3 or 4 things I do, right? I'm a digital brand consultant. I try and do some e-commerce stuff. I've got my YouTube ventures. I'm trying to do more with live streaming and figuring out my next steps with this video game. So I've been looking into Twitch. I've been trying to research what people do on live streams that really makes them grow. And, you know, I think I have potential. I'm a little wild. I'm a little loud. I think I have a potential to go on Twitch and live stream the college football game every single day when that comes out. So I think that's kind of in the cards. When's that? July 8th, July 20th, somewhere in that range, in that 2-week period. The college football game will come. I'll obviously still be working on Corn Craze content, but maybe an hour, 2 hours a day, I'll be streaming the EA Sports college football game. You know, I know a lot about all these teams around the country, so I think talking about those teams while I play the games could be pretty interesting. And yeah, playing people for money. So that's what's going on over here. I know it started with the weather, but I was just giving you a little update on what's been going on the last little bit of time. Evanception, thank you for the $10. Thank you for being a member. He says, good to see you again, brother. Gotta wonder if the selection committee had a sense of humor with our tournament pairings. 1,000,000%. They wanted to make sure they got those TV ratings up. They wanted to get people excited for these games. Come on. It's a damn near pick'em game, so that means the matchup's perfect. And on top of it, you get the Trev Alberts game. I mean, they knew it was going to light up Twitter. For marketing, it was the best thing they could have possibly done. I predict Nebraska wins the first round, but loses to Houston in the next. GBR FFL. I don't know what the FFL means. Maybe I'm out of touch, but yeah, I mean, I'm going to do my bracket in a minute. I don't want to count Nebraska out too early. Husker Chuck says Husker baseball is 13-5 so far this season, which means they're doing good. I like that. Jose says, I'll play you at that football game. I'll stomp you, bro. It's going to be cute when I start taking everybody's money. When everybody's talking tough like they can beat me at this game. You'll understand. You'll understand. Get ready. Noah says you should let people challenge you in the stream if you do it on Twitch. That would be awesome. 100% I'm going to do that. And I do want the smoke on NCAA 25. I want all the smoke. I'm going to be good with every team. Just watch. For effing life. I should have known. Okay, well, let me get over here to the weight room real quick. You guys saw the new weight room pictures today, I'm sure. I mean, that's pretty sick, I must say. You got a little speed ramp. That's the overview, looking out to the field. It reminds me of UCLA a little bit. Not sure if you guys have seen UCLA's weight room, but they have these big glass doors that all open to the field. I think their field runs vertical. This one runs horizontal. Doesn't matter. But the point is, when it opens up, it's pretty nice, pretty sick view. You get really good content out of that. And as you know, Nebraska produces some great content. So hopefully we'll get some cool shots from here. I have not gotten to visit this new facility yet. Obviously, it was still being built this last season. But hopefully, when I go for the Colorado game, I'm going to go to the Colorado game, I can get a little tour of this stadium. So that's the objective. I'm going to have to plan that out in advance and talk to some people. But that's the goal. That weight room's freaking fire. All right, let's move on to the bracket challenge. So again, to join the Corn Craze bracket challenge, you just click the link in the description box below. We're going to fill this out real quick. So last year I had UConn winning it all. UConn's going to do good this year. I'm going to take Northwestern to beat FAU, but I don't think Northwestern's strong enough to beat UConn. I'm taking San Diego State to beat UAB. San Diego State obviously played in the finals last year. I'm taking Auburn to beat Yale, and I'm taking Auburn to beat San Diego State. I'm taking BYU, who's been choppy this year, but they play in the Big 12, which is one of the strongest conferences in basketball. I'm taking them to beat Duquesne. Illinois, who I think is unbelievably hot right now, I'm going to double down on them and say they're going to beat BYU. I'm going to take Drake over Washington State. I just don't like Washington State. I think they've been choppy. Iowa State over Drake. Then we go down here. We got North Carolina. Got Michigan State. I'm taking St. Mary's. Watching St. Mary's is funny. They've got almost all white guys. They might only have white guys. I've noticed that the last 2 seasons I've watched them. Weird to watch. Because when you watch all these other teams, it's a little bit different. Alabama's been pretty good. Taking them to beat St. Mary's. I'm taking New Mexico to beat Clemson, and I'm taking Baylor to beat Colgate. This is going to be a tough pick for me. I kind of like New Mexico over Baylor. I'm going to come back to it. I'm taking Nevada over Dayton, and I'm taking Arizona over Long Beach State. On the bottom here, you can't see it. I'm taking Tennessee over St. Peter's. St. Peter's is the 15 seed. And I'm taking Texas over Colorado State or Virginia, and I'm letting Tennessee move on over Texas. I'm taking Creighton over Akron. Man, this one's tough. It's South Carolina and Oregon. You know, South Carolina has been an interesting team this year. They only got better as the season went on. South Carolina had some serious wins. What's the line on this? South Carolina. South Carolina -1 against Oregon. I would have thought it was South Carolina minus like 3. I'm taking Oregon. And I'm taking Creighton to beat them. All right. Taking Kansas over Samford. I'm taking McNeese. McNeese is one of the best teams, who's a no-name, obviously. And I think they won like 30 games this year, 25, something close to 30. They're good. I'm taking them to beat Gonzaga. Utah State over TCU. No, I'm taking TCU over Utah State and Purdue to move on. I'm taking Marquette over Western Kentucky. I'm taking... Florida's been hot, but I'm going to take Colorado or Boise over Florida. And I'm going to take Kentucky over Oakland. NC State's been hot, but Texas Tech's more consistent. I'm taking Texas Tech. Duke over Vermont. James Madison over Wisconsin. Taking Nebraska over A&M, and I'm taking Houston over Longwood. Now, we're going to come back to Nebraska. Really quick, I'm going to come to chat because I see some comments. LR22 says, time to watch Connor butcher this bracket. Hey, like I said, last year I won the tournament challenge and I won a $300 tournament. I came in first place out of 50 in another bracket. Okay? So, listen, I might not know basketball that well, but I'm okay. So I'm not going to butcher it. I might lose some games, but butcher it strong. Jake says, if you stream the new video game, will you stream it on YouTube? I don't really like Twitch. The only problem with YouTube is I wouldn't do it on this channel, and I'd have to start a new channel from scratch. And if I wanted to get an audience, it would be faster to get it on Twitch. That's why I think I'm gonna do it on Twitch. I don't know. I think I got to do Twitch, to be honest, if I'm gonna stream the game. But when it first comes out, I'm gonna do a video where I stream at least one game here for sure on YouTube, because everyone's gonna want to see Nebraska, and I got to show the roster and all that, the jerseys, so I'm going to do that. Okay, let's go back. Let's see. Connor's talking about last year like a washed-up football player. Get out of here. Let's just move back onto my bracket so I want to see what your bracket is. Make sure you label your bracket in the Corn Craze Challenge with LR22 so I know which one's yours, because I'm going to be watching for you to mess up. I promise you. If you're going to talk big, you better back it up. Okay, I'm taking UConn to beat Auburn. I'm taking Illinois to beat Iowa. I'm taking Iowa State to beat Illinois. No. Yeah, I'm taking Iowa State to beat Illinois. I'm taking North Carolina to beat Michigan State, but I think that's going to be a really good game. And I'm taking Bama to beat North Carolina. I'm taking New Mexico to beat I'm taking New Mexico to beat Baylor. I'm taking Arizona to beat Nevada. I'm taking Arizona to beat New Mexico. Okay, going back to the bottom. I'm taking Tennessee to beat Creighton. Taking Kansas to beat McNeese. Taking Purdue to beat TCU. Kansas to beat Purdue. Okay, we've made some progress. Marquette to beat Colorado. Texas Tech to beat Kentucky. Taking taking Duke to beat James Madison. And because I don't want it to end too early, I'm taking Nebraska to pull an upset against Houston. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I need at least one upset here. One crazy upset. This is the one. There's going to be a 1 seed who goes down. It's not going to be UConn. It's going to be Purdue pretty early too, I think. It could be Purdue to TCU. But we're going to say it's going to be Houston. It's not going to be North Carolina unless North Carolina went down to Michigan State. We're going to say it's Houston. Houston loses to Nebraska, and then Nebraska loses to Duke. I'm going to say Marquette. Duke beats Marquette. UConn beats Iowa State. Arizona beats Bama. No, Bama beats Arizona. Tennessee beats Kansas. That takes us to Duke, Tennessee, UConn, Bama. I'm going to say UConn beats Bama. Tennessee beats Duke. And we'll see a UConn, Tennessee final with UConn winning a back-to-back title. There you have it. Those are my picks. Again, like LR said, I'm washed up. Last year's last year. And this year I could be a total bust. You know, Nebraska could go and they could win a title. And then my whole bracket's messed up. because I only had them winning 2 games. Evanception said Houston got dominated in the Big 12 championship. You know, the only problem with Houston getting dominated in the Big 12 championship is they're going to be super laser focused, at least for the next game. And then after that, they're probably going to be really locked in on Nebraska if Nebraska was to beat Texas A&M. We got to focus on just beating Texas A&M first, because if that's a matchup where Nebraska's got to come out firing. Because if they come out flat at all, Texas A&M, who's been hot, is going to take advantage just like Illinois did. So, yeah. I really hope Nebraska makes a move, though. I hope they make a run. It would be fun to actually watch them make a splash in a tournament where they haven't done anything for I don't know how many years. When's the last time Nebraska went? Let me see. Nebraska March Madness tournament appearances. I'm going to find out right now. The Cornhuskers have appeared in the NCAA tournament 8 times with a combined record of 0-7. They're the only power conference school that's never won a tournament game. Oh my God. Okay, here we go. In 1986, they played Western Kentucky, who was an 8 seed. They were a 9 seed and they lost. They played Xavier as a 3 seed in 1991 and lost. Wait, no. I don't know what. It's got to be. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what seed they were, because I don't want to get this confused. I have confirmed it now. Nebraska's the 8. So Nebraska was a 3 seed in 1991. Wow, that's a really high seed, actually. I don't understand what the MW means. Oh, Midwest, the bracket they're in. See, guys, I'm new to college basketball. All the terminology and all the lingo goes over my head right the first time because I don't pay attention enough. Okay. So they were a 3 seed against Xavier. They lost. It's embarrassing. 92. They were an 8 seed against UConn, and they lost. 93, the year I was born, they were a 10 seed against New Mexico State and lost. God, they never even got close. Like, every game was a beatdown. I mean, the closest they got was Xavier, but Xavier was a 14 seed. Jeez, they just get blown out every year. Then 98, 2014 was the last time they went. I kind of remember 2014 losing to Baylor. I wasn't paying attention, though. I just couldn't care less about basketball back then. Like, I didn't even think about it. To be fair, 2014 was an interesting transition because Bo Pelini left. I think that was the year he was leaving. And Mike Riley was coming in. I was like 21. I had a girlfriend. I had a new business. I had a lot going on. So I wasn't as focused on football. I was focused. I was watching. Like, I went to the Holiday Bowl that year. I made my girlfriend go to the Holiday Bowl that year. Some of my USC friends went because it was Nebraska versus USC. But I just wasn't as dialed into Nebraska football. From 2014 to like probably 2017 when Frost came, I was kind of tapped out. I watched 80% of the games, but I wasn't fully dialed in. If something else came up, then I would go to a party or I'd stay out late and not wake up for the game in the morning. You know, things like that. I just wasn't fully locked in like I am now. But before that, you know, I was Connor Hayden of Corn Crazed. Anyway. Nebraska team in 2015 could have been really good if not for injuries. What's crazy is you guys are talking about teams of the past, like 2015 or 2014. I couldn't name a single player from any of those teams. The only players I remember were McGowan's. And who's the other guy who went to the Oklahoma Thunder? He went to OKC. He was like really tall. He was on my plane. I saw him in Vegas one time at Summer League. Isaiah Roby. Oh, I saw him at Barry's too that same night I saw Samari Toure and CJ Wilshire. Anyway. Yeah. So that's the basketball content, guys. I don't know much about basketball, as I said, but I'm trying my best. I'm watching because if they're going to be good, I'm going to pay my respects. It's a Nebraska sport, and I'm going to get into it. And I'm going to do my best to cheer hard, although I might not know entirely what's going on. I'm going to bet on them for good luck. But, yeah, I'm doing my best. That's all I can say. If Nebraska beats Texas A&M, I think I'll do a live stream reaction to it. I think I'm going to have to. What is it, Friday night? Yeah, I'll go live Friday night to do a little live post-game reaction. But, yeah, that's what I got, guys. Not much football stuff to talk about for about, 3 more weeks? I mean, football practice starts in 2 weeks or something like that. No, Football practice starts the 20th. I don't remember. It doesn't matter what it is. I got you, bro. I see you. I'll pay attention. Football practice starts soon. But it doesn't matter when it starts. It matters when we start to get content and we start to hear news about it. So I'm going to say we start to hear more about what's going on with the football team by April 5th, April 7th, something like that. And then I can start to do more videos. I think I'm going to do a debate video with Adam Carricker where we talk about whether or not Dylan Raiola, that's my headphones. Dylan Raiola is the for sure lock to start at Nebraska, or if Daniel Kalen or Heinrich Haarberg could step in and beat him. I did see that Heinrich Haarberg is training with Jeff Christensen. There's only so much I can say. I had a lot of info about what happened with the Dylan Raiola recruitment, and I can't talk a lot about it because I have sources who, it's the only source who knows what actually happened, so I can't say what I know because then it'll directly tie back to him. But Heinrich Haarberg training with Jeff Christensen is very, very interesting. I don't know if it was like a permanent thing where he's training with him. I don't know if it was a one-off, but the fact he was training with him at all speaks volumes. Heinrich Haarberg last year came in for his first time ever as a full-time quarterback in training, right? And he was preparing to be a third-string QB. I'm guessing he didn't have a private QB coach. Now he's got film. They know the things he needs to work on. He's had an entire year to focus on being a starting or backup quarterback, an entire at least season, a 4-month period. And now he's going into this spring knowing he's competing for the starting job. A lot to be said for a guy who has, number one, the determination, the will, and the confidence. But number two, a skill set, at least in terms of running and a cannon of an arm, and coaches who are willing and who believe in him, willing to coach him up to become a starting QB. And Jeff Christensen working with him is really a testament to show that if he believes in Heinrich Haarberg, then maybe there's a chance he could upset Dylan Raiola and win that starting job. But I'm going to debate Adam Carricker on that near the spring game. And that's what I know. That's what I've got for you today. It's still a little slow. We're still months away. But yeah, at least there's something to talk about. Guys, I got more work to do. I appreciate you all for hopping on and talking about college basketball with me, kind of washing away the rest of the Trev Alberts conversation since we now get to move on from that. I think really we get to move on from it after this Friday, after the basketball games are done. Then people will stop talking about it and we'll move on completely. But yeah, for the most part, we've moved on. Oh, and I got a text. It says spring football starts on Sunday. So again, we'll start to know 2 weeks from now is my guess. We'll start to have more info about what's going on with the team. But yeah, that's what it is. I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Go Big Red.